Hey gang, Roden here. Welcome on back to the Cade and another edition of Sports Saturday. And for this week, I figured now that we're 180 some odd episodes into this channel, let's dive back into the world of the sweet science and play one of my favorite boxing games from the 90s. It may not look the prettiest, but man, this is one I had more fun with than I could possibly think of back in the day. We are going to play Boxing Legends of the Ring. It was created by Electro Brain and released on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis in 1993 in North America, Europe, and Japan. And what we're going to do over the course of the next half hour is we're going to actually go through and try and set up a quick career mode, and I'll show you the better part of how this game works. Now, I first discovered this game actually on PC, which sounds weird because this was originally released as a console game, but bear with me, back in the day, most of the stuff that we were able to see on this game, or most games we were able to see, I should say, were ports from PC games. So, let me set my name up here really quick. Get my calibrations right for... Okay, so when you start building your character, you can do this a couple different ways. You can pick a scrappy fighter from off the street, you can pick a more polished Olympic-style boxer, or you can pick a more disciplined military boxer. The difference is that you will see the three primary stats, punch, power, stamina, and chin, will be different. Olympics is more average across the board. You get more punch power as a street club fighter and a better chin as a military fighter. So we're going to go right in the middle, and we're going to go ahead and take the Olympic fighter, and now, with what we have left over, we can apply it to each category using the A button. And you got to be a little bit thoughtful about how you want each guy to be able to, or each stat to be first out. And then you can change your appearance this way by hitting the A button, so I'll keep it as is. Now we get to decide which punches we want to have get the most snap. So obviously you want to have a good jab. Good jab is critical to being able to disrupt your opponent's attack and keep them honest while also being able to do preliminary damage. Body shot from the left side is really helpful to get. Left hook maybe not so much, uppercut not so much. You want to have a good follow-up punch to the jab. Let's see, let's got a few more left here. So back to the body here, come back to the hook. That'll be good right there. Now the special punch at the bottom, the super right cross, you can't do anything with it. But now you get to go through the middleweights, and if you are unfamiliar with how boxing works, everything is separated by weight class. So middleweight is right in the middle. You see the weight limit is 160 pounds, and you get to face some of the greatest middleweights of the 20th century. The first one you have to fight, Kenny is the built-in character. So he's obviously not one of them, but then you have guys like Sugar Ray Robinson, who is arguably the greatest boxer of all time, Sugar Ray Leonard, James Toney, Thomas Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Rocky Graziano, Jake LaMotta, and Roberto Hands of Stone Duran at the top. So this first fight will go 6 rounds. And when this game came out in 1993, it was actually received fairly well. It got, on Famitsu, it was 27 out of 40. On Nintendo Power, they gave it a 3.95 out of 5. Next Generation gave it a 2 out of 5. They said it was pretty much written up as decent, which it is. I mean, as you see, the graphics are not the most staggering in the world. And what you really have to do in this game is get good at pattern recognition. So, because you can't fully move around the ring, you've got to be able to get your opponent's punches blocked while you are dishing out attacks and counterattacks of your own. So, because you're also dealing with 3 buttons on the Genesis controller, A, B, and C, if you hold the up button on the D-pad, that allows you to punch upstairs. And then if you hold the left or right trigger, or the left or right control button, I should say, that will allow you to throw body punches downstairs. If you hold the down button, that'll let you throw an uppercut. So how you know your opponent or you are starting to get hurt is that little self-portrait up the top will start to change. You'll lose your smile first. And then you will start to get beat up a bit. The glove indicates your stamina. So you will see it dwindle down as I continue to throw and take punches, which is where it comes in handy to be able to throw body punches, because that will help break your opponent down so they can't throw as many punches in the course of a round. Now, unlike modern boxing games where you were able to fully move around the ring, it's more 3D. You have to bear in mind this was the 16-bit era, and this was really the best we got. There was another game released around the same time that one of my siblings played a lot. It was called Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing. It is one I will eventually highlight on this Sports Saturday, and I don't like it nearly as much because the built-in AI is just merciless. Even on like easy, that game is notorious for its really bad controls and overwhelming AI. But otherwise, you go 3-minute rounds, and as you can see, I'm already starting to break down Kitty Kitty. His face is starting to morph a bit, and a lot of it is from taking body punches as much as it is getting hit to the head. So at the end of every round, they give you a stat count of how many punches you threw. I threw 160 in that round, landed 101. It's nuts that I could throw that many and land that many. In a modern fight, if you throw 160 punches in a round, and you're not out of gas at the end of it, you are superhuman. That's something out of a Rocky movie. Because you have to remember, every time you throw a punch, you're expending energy, especially if you're really trying to beat your opponent down. Now, the company that made this game, Electro Brain, was only around for a couple of years. They ran from 1990 to 1998. And in that time, along with Legends of the Ring, they made a couple other sports games for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Most notably, they made one called Best of the Best Championship Karate, which is one that I've debated about highlighting on Sports Saturday, but actually, that's one that much more belongs on a WTF Wednesday, which is something I am planning to bring back. Now that we are done with our playthrough of the original Diablo, the final episode of that will be coming up on Monday, by the way. But we got that done after 19 episodes. I actually genuinely thought it was only going to go about 15. But now that we've got that one in the bag, I'm going to take my customary breather from doing playthroughs and see what else I can come up with for content and revisit some stuff I haven't done in a while. One of those is WTF Wednesday. If you're not familiar with that, WTF Wednesday was a thing I came up with where we take a look at games that on paper seem like a good idea, but in actual reality turn out to be not so much. And they're not necessarily bad games. Some of them are. I mean, some of them are just atrocious. But with other ones, it's more about the execution and what actually translated to a console, and was that really what they were trying to put out there. So I got about 30 seconds to go in this round, and I am busting kitty up. Now, the further along in this game you go, the harder it is to damage your opponent. I will tell you that right now. Like when you get to your third or fourth opponent... Oh, and I may end up putting him down here. When the screen goes white, it means he's about to go down. Can I get him down before the end of the round? Yes, I can. And down he goes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And he makes it to the end of the round, so we'll go back to our respective corners. And in that round, I threw 160 more punches, landed 111. He threw 48, landed 12, which is much more in line with what you see in an actual boxing match, round by round. Now, I am using the regular standard difficulty on this. I freely admit that I have played this game so many times over the years that I have gotten very good at understanding how it works. And once you really get the mechanics of it down, I will tell you, it can get a bit repetitive and a bit boring. Because the pattern recognition for each fighter remains fairly consistent. They'll have 2, maybe 3 different types of attack. Like, I knew he was going to be throwing those combinations right there. He'll come down, throw 2 here, and then I can go back to work. And the better fighters have more combinations. They do more damage, obviously. See if I can land a super punch here. If you use both punch buttons simultaneously, which is A and C, that makes it hard to do. But you can throw one of your super punches, and it obviously does a heap and heck of a lot of damage. So now I've got him to the point where I've almost got him down. Hit him with another super punch, and down he goes again.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So he's up at 8. Something else I wanted to get passed along to you guys while I got a minute is we have our first poll up on the Retrocade. If you go to the community page at Roland's Retrocade on our YouTube channel, you will see it there, and it is pretty simple. Do you want to try and see me for an upcoming playthrough? And I am getting close to having 200 videos on this channel, so I thought maybe something to commemorate that would be to take a crack at it. Would you be interested to see me as a 40-something-year-old gamer take the dive and finally drop into the Soulsborne multiverse and take a crack at the original Dark Souls? I'd be playing Dark Souls Remastered because that's the one that you can get now on Steam. But as I've said, and I stated it during the Diablo playthrough as well as a couple of my other playthroughs, I have never played Dark Souls. I have seen people play Dark Souls, and granted, there is no end of content of people doing their first time playthroughs of that game, or any of the Souls trilogy for that matter. From Software puts them out there, and they're very popular for good reason, as I have seen. But what I can bring to the table as somebody who is not 20-something years old and not new to games and has an understanding of how these games are built, and also how games when I was growing up were considered just as hard, if not harder, than what a lot of people say Dark Souls is that something you would like to see? And I will put it to you guys. If, you know, it's real simple. You vote yes or no. And again, you go to the community page at our YouTube channel, which is, of course, at Road Retro Arcade, and cast your vote. And I will tally them up, and then once I get an idea from the community on what you guys would like to see me do, then I will decide whether or not I want to put it together. But I was thinking about it in some ways after I got done with my Diablo playthrough. Oh, now I'm ready to put him down again. And also because I'm going back and playing Diablo 2 on Battle.net. And I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I remember, excuse me for a second, how back when I was in my 20s and we were first getting into those games, how everybody thought they could be a lot harder than they were. Simply because it was a new type of game. And what I appreciate about a game like Dark Souls is that From Software had the mindset to go back to that classic old school RPG vibe. So, again, I'll put it to you guys. If you want to see me try it, great. I will figure out a time to be able to start putting that content together. And if not, then I will continue to carry on as I do. I will tell you that my next playthrough will not be a classic dungeon crawl RPG. That's not to say it won't be an RPG, but it will definitely not be in the Diablo Dark Souls vein. I have some ideas on what the next playthrough is going to be, so if I do decide to play Dark Souls, it will be a little bit later on down the line, probably before the end of the year. Now, getting back to this game, you can't have the referee stop the fight. The only way a fight ends is if you knock your opponent out, or you go to the decision. And at this point, since I have 2 rounds left after this one, and I've knocked him down, I believe, 3 times, soon to be 4. As he goes down again. If he gets up after this one, I'll be impressed.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So we have knocked him out at the end of the 4th round. We got a quick little replay, which was something I always liked about this game. Showing you putting the coup de grace on this fight, as Kenny is done. And then we get the final stats, so I threw 635 punches, landed 429 for a truly outrageous 67%. I knocked him down 4 times. He threw 182 punches, landed 70, which is a 38% rate, which is far more realistic to what you see in an actual boxing match. So now, we've got about 12 minutes left, and I'll give this one a whirl, as we are going to take on arguably the greatest boxer of all time in Sugar Ray Robinson. After this one, I'm going to want some boost to my punching power. Still going to be over 6 rounds, so it should only take about 10 minutes. We did take a little bit longer at the beginning to set up the character, but now you can get an idea of what it's like to fight one of the actual legends in this game. And the thing about Ray Robinson was he could do everything. He was a great body puncher, had a great chin, had the ability to move. He could fight backing up. There was nothing that he could not do. And at a time where everybody was still very much interested in who was the heavyweight champion of the world, and you have to keep in mind this was post-World War II when you had Joe Louis as the heavyweight champion of the world. Ray Robinson ruled the lower prestige weight divisions from welterweight up to middleweight. And he didn't do it alone. He had guys like, if you've ever seen the movie Raging Bull, or if you're familiar with the movie Raging Bull, it is about Jake LaMotta, who is another character in this game. And he was one of Ray Robinson's toughest opponents. They fought, if I remember it right, 4 times, if not 5. Jake actually beat Robinson once. But then you have guys like Carmine Basilio, Tony Graziano, who's another character in this game. And guys of that era who, if you're a boxing fan, you look back on it and you go, these guys were the gold standard before the advent of Muhammad Ali and the heavyweights of the 60s and 70s. And then you had the Four Kings era of the 80s with Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, and Duran. But as you can see, it's not going to be as easy damaging Ray as it was taking out Kenny, our first opponent. Because Ray is just that much tougher. If I knock him down in this fight, that will be impressive. And I've got 6 rounds to do it. Now, one of the things I always liked about this game as a kid was how it gave you the sense of realism by being in a Vegas arena, as you can see by the Las Vegas Hilton, and the HBO signs behind the boxers. Now, that's not something that you saw in every version of this game. Depending on where you were, if you were in Europe or you were in Japan, those weren't there. But they wanted to highlight the fact that in the US, HBO for nearly 40 years was the first big cable network until Showtime came along to show championship boxing on a regular basis. Now, part of that was on their regular pay service, and then a lot of it was through what became eventually known as pay-per-view. Well, as a kid, the idea of being able to watch fights, watch anything on HBO, when cable was still a really attractive proposition, was really appealing. So when I saw this game and saw, hey, it's not officially sponsored by HBO, but that it had it in it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, cool. It just added to the ambiance of the game and the presentation that I think is really key in games like this, and in a lot of sports games. I've said it since the beginning of this series, is that the best sports games, if they do it right, and it's why EA was so good for so long, and why they've really fallen off a cliff, is that they've sacrificed presentation for profitability. With everything they've done with trying to do their ultimate teams and all that stuff, they've taken all the features that longtime players in the series liked. Well, Electro Brain never made a second one of this. They went out of business before they could do anything else, and by the time they got further along in the 90s, they had actually come up with far different games. But again, they started in 1990 with making games for the NES. They made Raiden for the Super NES, which means it was something they ported over. Again, like I said, they made Best of the Best Championship Karate. They made Tony Miola's Sidekick Soccer in 1993, and then the only other sports game that they made in the 90s was called Tommy Moe's Winter Extreme Skiing and Snowboarding in 1994. And Tommy Moe was a famous downhill skier at the time. They did make 2 games for the Nintendo 64 in 1998. They made Dual Heroes and Star Soldier Vanishing Earth, and by that point, they were pretty much done. One of their final games was actually a port of Bomberman for the Game Boy. Well, now I'm really starting to rough up right here. I wasn't expecting him to get quite so much damage as we get to the end of the round. Now that they called this game Boxing Legends of the Ring is a little bit of a double entendre because the cover art shows the ring as in Ring magazine, which has been historically known. They've been around for 101 years. They were started in 1922. And it is a magazine devoted solely to documenting the sport of boxing. And for a long time at its peak, it was known as the Bible of boxing. And in the 80s, they started to shift a little bit more into covering pro wrestling along with boxing. And then in the 90s, it started going through multiple ownership changes. It is now owned by Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, who picked it up in 2007. And now the Ring is actually considered not a sanctioning body, but as part of being under the Golden Boy banner, champions in boxing nowadays can have what's called the Ring Championship, along with the WBA, WBC, IBF, and the WBO. Now, those four are still considered the big four belts that you want to have if you're a professional boxer. And the Ring is like, it's a second-tier belt. It still gives you some prestige, but as opposed to, you know, other like smaller municipal promotions and things like that, like the NABF and the WBU and all that stuff. Let's see if I can put him down here. Oh, I'm gonna tag with one super punch. Oh, except I'm out. I punched myself out. See, the problem throwing the super punch is that it will sap all of your stamina. But I still managed to put him down with 20 seconds to go in the third.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So if this goes to a decision, which it may very well, that knockdown will help us greatly, because that gave us a 10-8 round. Now, when I say a 10-8 round, to remind you guys, if you haven't watched my previous boxing episodes here on Sports Saturday, in boxing, fights are scored round by round on what's called the 10-point system. So if one boxer manages to do enough to win the round by outpunching their opponent and doing better in the round, they're awarded 10 points. And the fighter who loses the round gets 9. Now, if you score a knockdown in that round, that ratio changes to 10-8. The opponent who got knocked down can get his 8 points. If you knock him down again in the same round, that drops to 7. Now, for a long time in boxing, there was what was called the 3 knockdown rule. If you knock down a fighter 3 times in the same round, then the referee was required to stop the fight. It was ruled a TKO, or technical knockout. In a lot of fights nowadays don't have that. Commissions pretty much have done away with the 3 knockdown rule in favor of, if a fighter gets hurt badly enough referees are now more inclined to step in even after one knockdown and stop the fight. So we threw a slightly different combination there, did Ray. But as you can see, I'm doing a lot more damage to him, and I'm still, for the most part, unmarked. Mainly because I'm able to anticipate more of his punches. So I'm able to block them easier. And because I'm landing more, he just simply can't stay up as he goes down again with 40 seconds to go here in round 4.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So this fight actually is going a little bit longer than I planned, but we'll see it through to the end because we're past a half an hour. And once you get a guy down a couple of times, it's really easy to start breaking them up even more. Their ability to take damage goes down much further. And it's all proportional to how many times they've been put down in the fight. So that's another 10-8 round for us as we put Ray down for the second time. We threw 181 punches in that round. That's nuts. That's more than most people throw in like 5 rounds. Now, it is possible to block a super punch. Ray just isn't good at it, and I have gotten very good over the years at getting the timing right. So it maximizes the chances that it will land. Let's see if we can break him down a little bit more to the body. There's an old adage in boxing that if you go to the body enough, as opposed to just trying to hit a guy upstairs to the head, as the body goes, the head goes with it. Now we put him down for the 3rd time. We've got a minute and a half to go almost in this round. I could very easily put him down again.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Got him again. Now, if you alternate your attacks enough, it can get really hard for your opponent to block you. Because they never really can know for sure which way the punch is coming. So they can't do much in terms of putting up a stout defense against it. And that's something they teach you in day 1 in boxing gyms. It is never get committed to one style of trying to hit an opponent. Now we put him down with a body shot this time. For the 2nd time in the round.
3, 4, 5.
Let's see if Ray gets up from this one.
7, 8.
I got 10 seconds. Can I put him away here? I don't think I'm going to be able to. I got 2, 1. Nope. I got close. I almost put him down. And he's not going to be able to recover from all that. So now this was a 10-7 round. So I knocked him down twice. He only threw 15 punches. I hit him with 5. Or he hit me with 5. Whereas I hit him with over 100. If this was a modern fight, and I did that, he would have been... The fight would have been over in a second. Now I put him down for the 4th time.
1, 2,
If he gets up from this, I'll be surprised.
4, 5, 6, 7,
He's gonna.
8.
And I caught him again. Let's see if we can finally polish him off here. I didn't even throw that many uppercuts in this fight. Another body shot, and down he goes.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Now I
5,
should be able to put him away here.
7, 8.
I got a minute to go. Either way, if this goes to the cards, I've got it locked up. I've knocked him down, I believe, now 5 times. Come back with a double uppercut, and that's it. 3 knockdowns, and the fight is indeed over. So I win that one by TKO. It took a little bit longer than I had hoped. But I have beaten arguably the greatest fighter of all time in Sugar Ray Robinson. And that, everybody, in a nutshell, is Boxing Legends of the Ring from 1993. I'm going to be biased when I say it's a good game because it's a game that I have had a lot of fun playing. As we look at the final stats, I threw almost 1,000 punches in that fight, landed 625. He threw 199, landed 75, and I knocked him down 7 times. So, now I could have the option of doing the rematch if I want to, but I'm not going to. But basically how this game works is you move the further up the ladder, and once you get to number 1, if you beat Duran, and it's not always him, it does change depending on how you want to play the game, then you can go ahead and be crowned the greatest middleweight of all time. You do have a password if you want to join back in midstream. Since I play this on an emulator, I can just save the state if I want to and not have to worry about it. But, I mean, as you can see, it's a repetitive game. It can run into being a very boring game very quickly if you're not able to end it in a couple of rounds. Again, the further along you go, the tougher the opponents get. So you do run into a bit of a difficulty curve once you get to about number 5 and number 4. And from then on, it's just keep going. So, and to be honest, I've never actually beaten this game all the way through. So I really don't know what is waiting for you at the end of it. It's one that I like to put on every once in a while when I want to play a boxing game, and it's not one if I don't want to play like Fight Night or Knockout Kings or something like that, and just have a little bit of old school fun with it. So, you know, if it's up your street, check it out. If not, I totally understand. This is more of a niche game for people, but I wanted to show you the difference between what boxing games were back in the 80s and 90s and what we have now. Because even by comparison to like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out back in the mid-80s, this is a far different setup, and it had a bit more limitations control-wise, even though graphically it was a little bit more polished up. So if you've enjoyed this, and I hope you have, best way to show it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, ring the bell to be notified for the latest content. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Threads at Ronin's Retrocade. Remember, we have our poll question up. Be sure to cast your vote. Do you want to see me finally dive into the Souls multiverse and take a crack at Dark Souls Remastered? Yes or no? Cast your votes. I'm going to keep the poll open for as long as I can, and then I will let you know my decision based on your feedback. And as always, if there is a game you'd like to see us feature from the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive, SNK Neo-Geo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, or PlayStation 2, leave it in the comments below or drop me a line on Instagram or Threads. Could be any game from those consoles you want. And as always, my name is Ronan. It's been great to spend this Sports Saturday with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming, stay cool out there. It's supposed to be super hot this weekend around the U.S., and I will talk to you tomorrow as we get you ready for Sucker Punch Sunday. Bye!